What up, dogs? I'm the dog. Welcome back to another GGE, a Games, Goals, and Expectations video. So, next one we're going to be talking about is going to be the first tier 3 weapon that we're actually going to talk about. So, it's going to be the Halo, the light slot for the lockdown shotgun. Still a pretty fun weapon to use in today's game. If you'll notice, I'm actually going to click on buy here so you can notice. I have about 5,000 components, so half one, and the other is going to cost me about 2,500. Therefore, you would assume that it basically costs about 5,000 gold to get a Halo. And it being a tier 3 weapon and as effective as it still is, or at least comparatively to other weapons that are maybe tier 2 or lower, I would say that's actually fairly worth it to spend that much, or to spend the silver to produce it through components instead. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the bots that are going to be most effective and or most exciting for me to use in the near future. Change robot. Sorry if it looks ugly, but it's always, switching stuff. Alright, so immediately, right off the bat, I'm still using destroyers, so eventually, when I get around to the point of using shotguns, then using a lockdown shotgun will be especially fun. So, running 2 halos on a destroyer, I would say, is one of the weapons that is most likely to be able to give you some pretty good brawling capability. It being a tier 3 weapon, like I said, probably not necessarily the best choice in terms of, if you want to, absolutely make this bot shine as much as possible in terms of brawling. But I believe, the Halo, even though it is a tier 3 weapon, it is still pretty capable, comparatively. Like I said, it's not like broken or anything, but it's still pretty good and so fun to use. But I believe that the Halo is definitely one of the ones that people would have made a lot of videos on. If they did make any videos about the destroyer or something, or trying to Uberfy it, then the Halo is definitely one of the weapons they would have wanted to throw on there. Like, for instance, if they did Cossack, they would have done the Corona. So this is definitely a weapon that will make it perform well, and I will be definitely excited to use this when I get around to it, because making that super brawly will be very fun. And just being able to get some revenge on everybody for always locking me down would definitely be pretty fun. Yeah. Plus, if you just wanted to maybe throw it EQ on one side and then just have one Halo, you could probably maybe do that. Next is going to be the Gepard, of course, the Gepard, however you were to pronounce it. So obviously you have one extra slot. You have a active module. If you could not click on that, please, that'd be great. I don't need to click on that. Active module. Oh, they already cost 100 gold. That's right. Okay. The active module, and just significantly better in every way than the destroyer. It's gonna be that much better than the destroyer, and it's much faster, of course. So using weapon like the Halo, with the lockdown and its burst capability, in terms of capability in brawling, it will definitely be better than the destroyer and incredibly fun to use, I assume. If in the right league. Now, next one is going to be Patton, of course, and I always usually mention this, but I always do get presented with a caveat, meaning it does have a drawback being so slow and kind of squishy, but if you are to make it, a little bit, have a little defense, like if you want to possibly put like one of those drones that might give you absorber shield or something like that, getting shot by 4, if you get in a particularly good situation, getting shot by 4, like maxed out Halos probably wouldn't be really pleasant. and I think it'd be really fun. Now, like I said, it is pretty slow, so you might want to maybe think about making it a little bit faster, or, which is probably a better idea, making it tankier. Just because mostly when you're doing damage and you have a weapon that really needs to shine, then you definitely need to make it. You probably best in your best interest to make it tankier. This is going to, by the way, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video. This because the Halo is such a much better weapon than some of the other ones that would be comparatively, you know, equal. All right, next is going to be the Bolt, which would be that much better than uh, the Gareth, the frickin' Gepard. So you're able to dash and whatnot. So with a weapon like the Halo, that does have kind of a fairly quick burst clip, and then has to reload while shooting. It's probably in your best interest to use something like a dash bot or something, because you will be able to save a shot if you're dashing, and you're not actually literally being shot at that particular moment. So yeah, it'd be that much better than the Gepard. Next, I'm going to go ahead and mention, the usual, the Jesse. So the Jesse, in terms of weapons that are kind of is most similar to real life weapons as possible. I think Jesse and the entire, Wild Bunch is going to kind of shine because they really put that quick draw ability to the best of its the best possible usage, because you're basically firing one clip and then immediately switching to another clip, whereas instead of other weapons that might like a Magnum, for example, or it's just something that would have such a quick reload that it wouldn't even be worth it putting four of them on there. But with this, you would be able to uh, however much brawling capability you're able to make out of it, then being able to switch to another clip while you were trying to reload the other one is very, very useful, and I believe very, very fun. And in terms of I'm not saying that it's going to be able to perform up in Champions League, obviously, but if someone, like, for instance, if you're used to running if you're used to running like Destriers, then obviously the Jesse would be significantly better, with basically double as much ammo capacity, so to speak. Next is going to be, I'm going to mention, is definitely going to be a fairly good one, at least a decent one, to start off with. Is going to be the Stalker. So, because you do have that stealth capability, you are able to get in and unleash a short little clip of shotguns and then, dip back out so that you don't take too much damage. Assuming that whoever you're fighting doesn't have like quantum radar or something like that would, render your stealth useless. I'm not sure that I ever really saw anyone running that, but I just imagine out of any of the weapons that you could run on it, the Halo would probably be pretty good. Next is going to be a heavy bot, the Natasha. So, the Natasha, I wouldn't say is necessarily built to be a brawler, or at least not in today's game it isn't. If you're going to run a Natasha, assuming you're trying to make the best out of it, you probably wouldn't really run it as a brawler. You might be best using it as a sniper, but then again, it is also a tier 2 bot, so most people wouldn't expect you to be running it very high to begin with, especially not up in like Champions League or Legend League for that matter. But if you're down in like Diamond League or lower, then a Natasha is a pretty good bot. It's a cheap bot to deal with, so you don't have to worry about investing too much resources in it if you don't have you aren't that if you don't have that much to begin with. Start rambling on. So basically, running 2 Halos and then 2 Glories on this for a full lockdown shotgun build could do quite a bit of damage in terms of brawling. given if you're in the right actual league. So like gold league or lower, that'd probably be your best bet. Especially if you're maxed out, because I don't think anybody in gold league would particularly want to be up in somebody's grill if they thought they could be shot by like that. Um, yeah, and of course, like I said, you can make it tankier if you want. You can definitely put because you do have a active module where you can heal and make it survive that much longer. You wouldn't probably need to make it very fast because it's not really built for that. Tanky is definitely the way to go. Next is going to be the original ramen robot, the Rhino. So with this being said, you know, you would probably hope that your enemy is not running a lot of splash damage in order to deal damage to you. So you're gonna, I'm assuming that this probably be or the best range to be at trying to use something like this is probably within 300 meters. So you probably would start running at somebody at probably about 300 meters, if you can, and then once you got within 250, especially 200, you could start shooting them with a couple of shots of your halo clip, and then as soon as you got close enough to them to deal like a great bit of damage, especially if they weren't close to any cover, you could take down that shield and then shoot them with your coronas. And in terms of brawling, because like back then I think the Rhino kind of just would have been built for brawling anyway, back when it was part of the meta. So of course you would probably want to lean into that and make it a brawler once again. Um, yeah. All right. Next is going to be the usual suspect is going to be the Leo. So running like three halos on there and then a glory. And then I'm pretty sure this probably would have been even better than running the Natasha. Probably in terms of taking. I think they cost about the same amount, but I just think this probably would have been better than running Natasha, just simply because performability, I guess. Um, the Natasha kind of seems like a bigger target, so it'd probably take a little bit more damage. Like 1-on-1, I think the Leo probably would win. Next is going to be I'm actually interested. I'm actually kind of surprised that I put this on the list, but the hover. Now that being said, okay, so I did put this on the list and I did circle it, meaning that I did want to actually go over it. But the Leo, I guess I kind of mentioned it. Um, Not the Leo, the hover. I guess I kind of mentioned it simply because if you're going to um use a hover, typically speaking, you probably most of the time you're probably going to want to run weapons on it that can do damage at a distance because you are going to be going up in the air. But if you're making any sort of brawler out of the hover, then lockdown shotguns is not necessarily a bad idea, depending on what kind of range you're trying to get in. Um, so if you're on the ground and so you're close to somebody, shooting them with that much, even though you don't really have a whole lot of defense, but then being able to actually what might work out in your favor is if you are in somebody's face and shooting them. If you lock them down and then go up into your ability, they cannot shoot you because they cannot physically aim that high if you are basically right above them. So while you are basically basically not being able to be shot by them at the time, you can reload your clip while in the midair, assuming no one else is also trying to shoot you. If you're, this would definitely be very specific to a one-on-one scenario. But while you're, like I said, you could be reloading your clip to shoot them again as you come down, or you could also just pop some shots into the top of their head. Well, actually, I don't think you'd probably be shoot down, but you get my point. You'd be able to reload a clip and then be kind of like a failsafe. And then the thing is, you also have an active module on this, so you could definitely get away with putting like phase shift on it if you wanted to. Phase shift is definitely any sort of robot that's kind of squishy but does have like some sort of flight ability. Phase shift is gonna kind of be your friend, I believe, because you are able to, like, if you're trying to make a brawler out of it, that would be, a situation where you can uh, make that the best of its, yeah. All right. Next is going to be the, and for the same purpose, I mentioned the Alkene. So this one actually has four light slots, so you'd be able to make it, you know, that much better. Now, technically, you do have a built-in weapon. Not that I don't think it's really going to come in handy all that much if you're trying to make a brawler out of this. But you do actually have lockdown with this. So if you were able to say you have shot grouping on your halos, or the pilot. If you're running a pilot on this that has shot grouping for your halos, then you're able to effectively hit better at a distance. So let's say you're at 400 or even all the way to 500. You have better shot grouping, so you're able to actually lock somebody down and potentially keep them from getting to you faster than they could otherwise. I'm not initially saying it's going to do all that well, but like I said, you you as the player get to choose what you invest in. All right, next is going to be the now this one is definitely this one actually would kind of definitely put some faith in, is going to be the Griffin. So two Halos, two Coronas. What more can you say? Lockdown shotgun build, awesome. Would do pretty good, probably, and definitely in Gold League, I believe. Well, nowadays Gold League is kind of littered with a bunch of meta bots, but you get my point. Um, so you being able to use something like this, especially if you got, like I said, if it's like maxed out, like I said, you have shot grouping and whatnot, making sure all your shots land and you're able to lock people down, which actually would be useful for a couple different reasons. You could lock them down, meaning you have ample time to actually shoot at them so they don't get behind cover, but you also could maybe lock them down so that you could flee if you needed to. If you just happen to need to get out of the situation because you were going to get your butt whooped. Yeah. So, yeah. Next is going to be the another dashbot, of course, is going to be the Strider. So Glory, couple Halos, not too complicated. Definitely be very fun because it is a dash bot. So with this, but the thing is, you also have 5 dashes on a Strider. So if you were to play your cards right, you could probably get in on somebody. Maybe use a couple dashes to get to them, unload your entire clip, and then dash away pretty quickly. That way you wouldn't have to take too much damage, considering the fact that it's not the Strider itself is not a very high health pool bot, and because you are dashing, it is harder to hit you, of course. And of course, you can't mention anything that would be good on the Griffin without mentioning the Raven, of course. I always say, every time I say it, the second jump makes it so much more maneuverable. And even if you wanted to, you could even throw a freaking jump unit on there to give it an extra jump even more. Now, especially if you were to run like Nessa rigs on something, so you do have stealth during your jump and stuff. Anything that make it even more capable. I just think it'd be really, really fun, especially particularly against obviously bots that don't really have a lot of defense, like maybe because if they have answers, obviously it's going to cut right through it. If they have a low level if they have a low level Aegis of any sort, then that will be eaten up. Yeah. So yeah. You could probably also get away with maybe using phase shift and stuff like that. All right, next is going to be something that would work fairly well in terms of the ability of the robot is the Hellburner. So running a couple of lockdown shotguns on this, would work out in your favor because you're able to lock down your enemy, hopefully within a certain range, and then you can manage to make sure that you actually explode right on top of them instead of missing if they happen to be too fast. All right. Next is going to be another popular one that people would run all back in the day. Like Islander, for example, this was definitely something he loved to run. Is going to be the Pursuer. The Pursuer with 3 little halos. That used to be a beast back when lockdown shotguns were really the meta, and whatnot. And it was just really good to use this. Significantly better than for the Stalker or the Gepper could do alone, because it's kind of basically a hybrid, and it's that much better. And whatnot, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this also has heck of modules and whatnot, so you could make it fast, you can make it speedy, and whatnot, and just get in there and tear people up, and they won't even know what hit them. And just absolutely, I'm definitely going to be looking forward to using lockdown shotguns on the Pursuer. Next is going to be another one that would work in tandem with it. Well, also kind of forgot that you have the stealth, so of course you can get in there. Another one that works in tandem perfectly well with the ability is the Mercury. So you want to go ahead and lock them down so that you make sure they are actually within the vicinity for you to drop down on them like a meteor with that hell dive ability. Next is going to be next is going to be one that especially if you're going for brawling, especially if you put something like Marie Leclerc on there, going to be the Minder. So if you're trying to make this as brawly as possible, lockdown shotguns are pretty good. You can actually probably manage to do some escaping with this as well. Maybe if you want to prevent somebody from capping a beacon and whatnot, just there's several different things you could think of to do with this. It'd just be really good. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would used to do this anyway. I can't vividly remember, but it's going to be something that I would definitely look forward to using. Accounting for whatever the meta happens to be. So I definitely would try to make that as beefy as possible. Another one that I do mention a lot of ones that do work very well in tandem with their ability in terms of the weapon is going to be the Loki. So with Loki, like I said, most people run around with it in stealth, capping beacons and whatnot. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is a brawler. Definitely more of an ambush bot, if anything. So you're going to be running around mostly in stealth all the time. Probably healing if you do have healing on it is probably in your best interest. So that way, when you are actually out of stealth, you are going to be unloading some lockdown shots into their back most likely, which would actually make it even more effective because you're actually probably going to be rooting them in place, hopefully, and then being able to run away. So that they'll be stuck in place while you can get even further away from them. Next is going to be another one of the Ragnarok bots. It's going to be the Tier. So I think that a lot of people used to run this back, when it would have been meta to run the Tier with a bunch of lockdown shotguns and whatnot. You definitely want to, you can definitely be in plenty of situations where, lockdown could help you in terms of not only, fighting, but also, getting to your teammates and able to, getting them some healing that they, probably so desperately need and whatnot. But yeah, especially considering the fact, if you run out of damage. If you run out of a clip with your Coronas, you can just go and switch to the next mode, and therefore you have a couple shots, a few shots to shoot off with your little halos too. Which makes it kind of funny because you have the halos that are actually on top. I don't know. That's kind of silly. All right. Next is going to be another one that a lot of people used to use all the freaking time is going to be the invader the invader. Okay, now this one used to be a beast. If I'm not mistaken, I think there's actually a few people that still run this thing pretty religiously. I'm not sure, but it's pretty. It used to be a beast, and it's still really, really good idea to use this. So because you have that lockdown with because you have that lockdown with those shotguns, then you're going to be able to root somebody in place so that you make sure that they can't escape when you land on them with your suppression ability, the incursion. And because you're actually reloading those shotguns while you're shooting them, if they are suppressed, you might be able to get away with not being able to shoot them very quickly again while they are suppressed. Let me get a drink of water real quick. All right. Next is going to be another one another one that would obviously benefit from being able to suppress somebody is the blitz. So running, 4 halos on this, baxed out and all that stuff, shot grouping, painful. This is another one that people would probably run a lot. Painful to get shot by this guy, get rooted in place by this guy, and suppressed and everything, and because with the blitz, you actually do have to manage to aim that break-in ability so that you can actually suppress them with the weapon like the halo. That makes it a lot easier to go ahead and root them in place so that you can aim at them easier and they're not like running around, especially if it's like a dash bot or something. Next is going to be the in terms of brawling, definitely making a brawler, I would say the Hades. So with the Hades, this was another one that kind of benefits from the fact that you have a weapon, a built-on weapon that you kind of have to aim very well. So if you're with at a distance, the built-in weapon goes to 500 meters, but the closer and closer you get with a weapon that typically has range like that, it's harder to aim at somebody that's getting closer and probably moving faster around you. So having weapon like the lockdown shotguns, namely being that you'd be running 2 halos and then 1 glory, then you would be able to root them in place and then hit them that much better with your retribution rifle. Next is going to be another one that works very, very well in tandem with its ability is going to be the Scorpion. So what could be better than, teleporting behind somebody and dealing damage to them, and then dipping back out, then also to be locking them down or at least applying some lockdown to them. So basically, they wouldn't be able to, you could literally use this maneuver to prevent somebody from getting onto a beacon if you really, really wanted to. So being able to lock them down, but also deal damage to them behind their back and just be a little bugger is just really, really, really fun. Or at least it sounds fun, in theory. Next is going to be, another one that people definitely would have absolutely used. That would have been a beast. Is the Ares. The Ares with lockdown shotguns was a monster. That thing was so. Well, I don't know if I would call it a monster, but that was so much of a bitch to deal with. Getting locked down by all that stuff, and especially if you had shot grouping on them. Or hold on, yeah, I think shot grouping. If you had shot grouping on this and whatnot, and people are just absolutely, hammering into you with those shotguns and locking you down place, and then on top of that, they can shoot that retribution ability at you. Ugh, that was so. That was a such a nightmare to deal with. I would not, I would not look forward to that. But I am going to look forward to using it myself now, which will be very, very fun. In fact, I think you can pretty much buy. Yeah, you can buy an Ares. It's gonna be expensive to buy one, but you can buy it. All right. Next is gonna be the um yeah. Next is going to be the Hawk. So with this being, you can use that lockdown to your advantage. If you're going to definitely be something that you would definitely want to be using against mostly going to be using this against Titans, because that's the pretty much the entire point of the Hawk and other such things like the Hawk and the Seraph. Things that are designed to fight Titans, or at least to deal a lot of damage to Titans. You have that ray gun ability that's built in. So if you were to uberfy it, put shot grouping and all that good stuff on there so that you can make it as damaging as possible. Now, of course, the ones that are going to be your best bet are the ones that definitely don't have any type of defense, or at least at the moment. So, like, any kid would automatically, just have any kid type would automatically just have a hell of a time trying to defend from this if it's that powerful, or at least that maxed out and whatnot. Or just anything that's on a cooldown, like the Luchador or a Minos or anything like that that does not have a bunch of physical shields that are just defending, blocking all your shots. Next is going to be another great one that kind of somewhat works in tandem with it, but it's going to be the Phantom. So with this, you're probably basically speaking, I guess you could call this like kind of like the bottle rocket, kind of like the bottle rocket tactic. So you kind of like rush in, you like use most of your ability to rush into your enemy wherever they are. Unload your entire clip and then immediately dip back. So basically, the way I visualize that, my kind of reminds me of a bottle rocket, because it's like, shh. Anyway, so yeah, that because you can also lock them down so that it can prevent them from coming too close to you when you do teleport back. Next is going to be the Khepri. So with the Khepri, you are definitely able to make it fairly tanky. It has been nerfed, but like I said, usually it would make this pretty tanky, and it is pretty fast. So being able to have like a lockdown and be able to get behind cover while you are reloading is so incredibly useful. And I'm looking forward to being able to use this in the future, whatnot. Next is going to be the Skyros. So with the Skyros, this would definitely be good. Most of the time, Skyros is going to be you're going to be using a running gun method. So with this being said, you will, if you are in a Skyros, you could run up to somebody, or especially behind their back, possibly, and just unload your shot. You can and even lock them down so that it's even harder for them to catch up to you when you roll off. Next is going to be another one that would actually work pretty well, kind of because it is also a shotgun. Is going to be the Angler. So unfortunately, this one is you're actually not able to buy. I mean, I think you can buy it like with real world money, but you can't actually buy it in terms of with in-game currency yet. Anyway, the Angler. So I think I already talked about this with the Gust, if I'm not mistaken. I might have. So you're able to lock somebody down upon close range, and then go into your electric shift ability, where you can reload a few of your shots, so that when you come back out and they can't shoot at you, you can shoot them even more. And plus, because you do have that lockdown, you're able to root them in place, so you are significantly more likely to actually hit them with that electric shift ability. Next is going to be the Nether. Okay, next is going to definitely be the Nether for obvious reasons. Every time I talk about it, it's pretty obvious reasons. So you're got a few shots that you can shoot with this while you're shooting, and obviously when you dash, you can slowly reload your clip a little bit better than what a bot that's not as mobile. And with this being said, it is a dash bot, so of course, being able to shoot like that is very useful. And of course, because like I said, because you are a dash bot, you can actually manage to, if you do manage to actually lock them down with the combined effort of uh, four different halos, then it's that much easier to get away as mobile as the bot is. Yeah, yeah. No, what's next? Where's it at? All right. Next is going to be the usual set. Hold on. No. Okay. Actually, I'll bunch of this. Next is going to be the Ochakachi. So I think that's how it's pronounced. The Ochakachi. So with a weapon like this, I feel like having the lockdown capability on a robot that's already pretty powerful is probably a pretty good idea. Whatnot. Because you're able to ram people and basically send them flying. So if you're able to lock them down, you're significantly more likely to be able to actually hit them with that ability, making sure that you don't miss, like if it had like a dash bot or something like that. And if you're going to be, especially considering the fact that you can make this tanky with its ability of not taking immediate damage, then of course a weapon like a lockdown shotgun would shine even more because you're able to survive without necessarily having to shoot, constantly. And then, of course, next, one of the newest bots in the game is going to be the Dagon. So with the Dagon, having 6 light slots on it, of course, a weapon like lockdown shotguns or any lockdown weapon in general is going to be great because you can apply that. You can apply, the lockdown accumulative effect that much faster. And plus, you have 6 shotguns shooting at you, 6 light shotguns, but still 6 shotguns shooting at you. So, not very fun. If you're getting shot at, I'm fairly certain if you were to max this out, if getting shot and having shot grouping and all that, if someone were to have this, at point blank range, depending on what bot you are actually running, even if you have like a very high level Aegis, that'd probably cut pretty freaking quickly. You probably, you'd probably get pummeled by this so quickly that you might only be locked down for like a second before you actually end up dying. And then, of course, the usual one that I always mention, typically at the end, simply because it's always fun to mention a bot that does have, every hard point. Is going to be the Golem. So most any sort of weapon series that does actually have one in each hardpoint is always fun to mention when talking about the Golem, because you are able to actually match it. And the Golem being one of the only 2 robots, the other one being the Skyros in the weapon in the game that does actually have one of each hardpoint. So I'll probably run this down in Gold League or lower, obviously, but if you're to make it more powerful, there's no telling how maybe you could manage to make it in. I'm thinking Diamond League, possibly edging it into Diamond League, and not Diamond League, Expert League, possibly. But I just think it'd really fun to max that out, and then just to see what kind of capability you could have with that and whatnot in terms of definitely making it a brawler. And you would be able, because you are actually have that lockdown ability, you can manage to make a little bit better situations in which you might be able to escape, possibly. But that is going to, conclude this video about the little light lockdown shotguns known as the Halos. Yeah, so if you like this video, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you want to keep seeing more of my awesome fucking videos. And Yeah, I will see you in the next one. Underdog. Oh!